could be here. This is such an exciting time for us tiny house people. Jenny has been working on this for years. She's going to talk more about that later, but she's really the spearhead here in San Diego to kind of get this going. And she taught me a lot, and it's life changed. Basically, my life has changed with tiny houses. So it's a great alternative to living. I Airbnb it and also have a full-time renter. So it's happening right now in Ramona. So okay, another couple of minutes. There's a lot of people loading in now, so I'll just wait another little bit. Let's see what else can I chit chat about by myself. Oh, well, we're going up to see Jenny. Not her because she won't be there, but we're going up to a caravan. So if anybody is interested, I'm taking a couple people up and we're going to meet up at Santa Isabel at Movable Tiny Houses at Jenny's place. There's a flyer in there in my show, so I'll talk more about that, but kind of put that in the back of your mind. Go up, see 5, 6 tiny homes, and then we're gonna go up to Julian to see some land that has utilities and ready to go. All right. So it's 7 o'clock. Perfect. We've got a couple more people probably just going to load in, and I'm just going to start now because I'm afraid I'm not going to have enough time. 7:01. All right. Hello, everyone that just joined in. If you could put your where you live in San Diego, what city, that would be awesome. Just so I can kind of get an idea of where everyone's at, and maybe you're already tiny house friendly. That's possible. And then we'll talk more about that because I am looking for landowners that want to lease. All right. So hello, my name is Stephanie Sundell, and I'm your tiny house realtor. And I am just a little obsessed over tiny houses, just a tiny bit. So it all started at a tiny house fest back in 2019 when I became friends with Boxable and then met Jenny, and my life changed. After that, I ended up buying 14 acres in Groveland, right outside of Yosemite, and I am building a tiny house village right now. So here we go with that. So this is me, my little caricature. So what I want to do is connect people with their tiny homes and connect people with the land, whether it be lease or buy, and put them together, and that would be your little forever home. There is huge rules changed as of September 4th of last year that you're able to permit a tiny home as your primary residence. And that is what Jenny's been pushing for at least the last 5 years. So I own 3 tiny homes personally. I Airbnb two, and I have a long-term renter in one. So it is an investment opportunity for me. I manage all of those units by myself. And what I do the other time is I'm a realtor. So I also sell and help you buy regular size houses as well. Uh, let's see, photography. I've been a photographer for the last 32 years, and my number one client is the U.S. Marine Corps. I do all of the birthday ball photography. So if you're a Marine or no Marine, I've probably photographed you. And of course, developing the 14 acres up in Groveland. So this has been a passion project since 2022, July 6th exactly. And we just received our permits last week. So it is a go. We're 100% greenlit and ready to build out 12 units. So this is just a little bit about me. I've been in business now just a little over 5 years in the real estate world. My kind of jam is first-time home buyers, vacation rentals, relocations, and 1031 exchanges. Um, Airbnb is definitely a large part of my life. I do that on the daily. And then, like I say, professional photographer for the last 30 years. And I'm in Vista. So this is a picture of my Groveland slash Yosemite project. So it's just 28 minutes outside the front gate of Yosemite National Park. And we just finished with our permits. And this is just absolutely amazing. When you wait 3.5 years for something, it's pretty gigantic. And yeah, sometimes it does take that. So, and this is an article that I wrote. I know some of you are already on your phone, so I will put a link in the chat so you can click on it and read it later. But this is gigantic. Here, let me go ahead and put this link real quick in the chat, and then you guys can save this. There we go. So that's the article there. So you guys can look at that in a little bit. But basically, it's just telling the world that we are able to put primary or tiny homes as a primary residence on land for the first time ever. Oh, let me just shrink this. Here is Jenny's slides. So come on. You can step up to the plate here. Let me hear you, Jenny.
Hi there.
There you are.
Yeah. Oh,
Cool.
okay. Thank you, Stephanie, so much for putting this type of webinar on. It's really much needed because we really need to get the word out. Because currently in the state of California, there's only 21 jurisdictions that are tiny friendly. And the city of San Diego has been tiny friendly since 2020. And because a lot of people didn't know about it, there was some thoughts that people weren't interested in tiny homes, but that wasn't the case. It just needed to get out and there needed to have, educational types of webinars like this. So we are rebuilding green, and I have been in housing all of my career, over 30 years, probably close to 33 years now, but I've been in the tiny home space for the last 12, and it hasn't been an easy road whatsoever. There was a time where you walked into the building department, and if you said the dirty word, which was tiny homes, they would totally shun you. And so they were not legal. But what ended up happening is people in our industry, some of the pioneers, which are some of the people that I am involved with. I'm actually the secretary of the National Tiny House Industry Association. So we got together and actually borrowed the RV code, which is the ANSI code, to help make tiny homes legal. And so that's how um, we have been able to find some success throughout the state. And so my entity, Rebuilding Green, we're actually a nonprofit organization that does a lot of advocacy work. And not only do we do advocacy work, as Stephanie mentioned, we do have a show lot out here in the back country of San Diego and Santa Isabel. And what we did was we bought an old trailer park that we're converting into a tiny home community that's going to be more of like a try before you buy. Because we do have, currently, we have 9 show models on site. And the other thing that Rebuilding Green has been very blessed to be a part of is several tiny home communities throughout the state. So I'm currently working on my 10th community in the Bay Area, where, either they were ANSI coded tiny homes or they were other types of prefab small homes. You might want to go to the next slide.
There we go.
Okay, so this is just a little bit about, I've already been talking about us. So you can kind of see the little bitty pictures there of some of the work that we've done. We've done stuff from helping with a tiny home community in Ventura County in Ojai for aging out of foster care youth. Was also involved in a community in San Mateo County where we took an old dilapidated trailer park, which you can kind of see some of the images there, and turned it into a community that has about 48 units. So it's a nice sized community. And for that area, it really helped over 200 people from, being housing insecure or homeless. And then we've done stuff like for aging, or excuse me, victims of human trafficking, just straight up affordable housing. Again, we're on our 10th project and it's pretty exciting. Our goal is to see tiny home communities all over California. We talk to a lot of families, especially here in San Diego, like in the unincorporated areas that are very excited about the changes that are being made. And, so many times they've come to us just wanting to do a little community for their family or even, some of their best friends. But it's something that's definitely in the works. When the change happened in September, that was as a result of pushing behind the scenes for like 5 years, like Stephanie mentioned. One of the three things that we did not get accomplished, and it's not over yet, is we were hoping to get a higher density. So the two other items that we'll be covering in this is where you can put a tiny home as an ADU, or you can do it as what we call a standalone. So the standalone is where you could buy a piece of land and put a tiny on there as a primary residence. But even past that, you can actually put a second tiny home on there as your ADU. You can go to the next slide. So this is what we've kind of already talked about, the some of the jurisdictions that are, I mentioned 21 earlier, but here it shows 23, and that's only because in the county of San Diego, unincorporated San Diego again, they do have another type of permit that you can get for it's a healthcare permit, and it was around for at least a decade, and that was the only way that we were able to put tiny homes on properties only in the unincorporated areas. And then also they allow that in Sonoma. Those are the only two jurisdictions throughout the whole state that allowed that type of permit. Next slide.
Perfect. All right. What's changed? Everything. So go ahead. This is you.
Oh, it is okay. I didn't recognize that slide. Yeah, so we kind of talked about that where, you can now put a tiny home that's built to the ANSI code, and the reason why that's different than just, putting a regular, like let's say another prefab type of home, like a manufactured home or even a modular home on there, is because a tiny home is not considered a part of the property. So it's looked at more as a or excuse me, um, not a fee simple type of structure. So it's not going to be tied to your land. So the benefit to that is that your property taxes are only going to be reflective of the land and not the unit itself. So that's a huge way for you to save money. And so again, you can put one on there as a standalone, as a primary residence, which is a big deal. And then the picture below is
Oh,
as an ADU. So you're gonna find if you've been looking into the whole tiny home thing and even that image of the jurisdictions throughout the state, every single jurisdiction has their own different name for a tiny home, which it will make it very confusing. So an example is in the unincorporated areas of San Diego, we call it a THOW, a tiny home on wheels. However, in the city of San Diego, they wanted to name it a movable tiny home. So you'll find all up and down the state, it's all kinds of different names. But the beauty of what the unincorporated area did in San Diego is they actually approved it as an ADU type. So the cool thing about there's a lot of benefits to being under the ADU realm. A lot of benefits that you won't get like in the city of San Diego, that you do in the county because we have it as an ADU. So it basically is an ADU, but it is just on wheels. Next slide. What did not change? I'd mentioned earlier that one of the things that we were hoping for was the higher density. So, we still have to stay within whatever your property is zoned as. If it's single family residence, you're only going to be able to actually put one tiny home on there if you have, a primary structure on there. And if it's, there are, I don't think we're going to get into this today, but there are new bills that have come out that do allow you to do higher density, which is exciting. It's just it didn't, get approved as we were hoping, just specifically for single family lots. So however you're currently zoned is, how you're going to be, the requirements are tied to however that zoning is. And one of the things about Stephanie, and us as well is, and we're working together, is that we can help you determine on any piece of property what you can and can't do pretty quick.
Exactly. Yeah, pretty quick, like a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
Go. And then ANSI. So tell me about the ANSI code. Why is that different than RV?
Okay. So when it comes to prefab, because that's what I really, I throw out there as far as when I tell people I do housing. I did used to be in the regular traditional housing space, but prefab has different types of standards. And so like your manufactured home, that's built to the HUD code, which is a federal code. So they have their own standards, and it's really very similar to a regular stick-built home, but it's just built at a factory. You also have modular, which is it's a more stringent code, and that's built to the California building code. And then you have your ANSI code. And so ANSI is, like I had mentioned earlier, we pretty much borrowed the RV code to make tiny homes legal because people were looking at them and they're like, well, it's not really a vehicle. It's actually not anything close to a vehicle. And they didn't want to call it a house because it's on wheels. But technically, if you actually look at the specifications on these homes, they are very similar to a home, but they're just built on wheels in a factory. So you
Hmm.
can kind of see here, this is actually one of our factories, which we can in the future, by the way, do factory tours. That's something that can be done in the future where you can go out and actually see, the whole process, in a couple hours because it's a big factory and they have different stations. But again, they're built to the ANSI code and um, you can even have 2x6s, and like, in some cases you can definitely upgrade your insulation. So there's really not that big of a difference. Again, um, really the biggest thing is it's on wheels.
Yeah, we had to upgrade all of our insulation for Yosemite because it snows there and septic. So this is a big deal. Let me try to make this a little bit bigger. I'm recommending for people that are going to do their septic to maybe do two. So what would that be? Two bedrooms is
Yeah, so
1,200 gallons.
this here is something that we are now seeing and starting to advocate. We're actually having to get bump this up to the state level to try to help make a difference because um you would what we're seeing, since this whole law came out, there's been so much excitement over it. And then we got to the septic tanks. So if you currently have a primary residence and your septic is not big enough, then the only option is really to either get a new septic tank or put a second one in. And so you can see here on the septic allowances, like if
Is
you have your main dwelling has 3 bedrooms there,
yeah,
and then
1,500.
yeah, you'd have to have a 1,500 gallon septic tank. And so one of the things that we can do for you is, if you're inquiring on a piece of land, one of the first things we're going to ask you is, do you have a copy of your as-built? What that is that's actually, it looks like a site plan that shows, where your septic tank is, but also it will tell us how much, what the amount of the gallons on your septic tank are. It's a big deal.
Yeah.
So, we can, locate that by going down to the county and getting that information for you. The other
Mhm.
thing, like Stephanie had mentioned, is, putting a separate septic tank in. There are requirements where you have to have a leach field, which requires, a certain amount of space. And then on top of the leach field, you also have to have a reserve field. So this is why it's so exciting that the unincorporated areas have approved this, because the properties in those areas are a lot bigger than like the city, where that's you don't really have the luxury of having as many pieces of land be as big as what we see out here. The land in the city is a lot smaller, but the septic tank is a big, it is one of the cost of the other costs that you definitely need to consider when you're looking into going tiny. At the end of the day, regardless, it's definitely, a lot less expensive, and it's actually real affordable housing when you go the tiny route, whether or not you have to get a new septic tank or not.
And we'll get into that later.
Yep.
There we go. And this is your last slide. Can you see that okay? There we go.
Yes.
Okay.
So, I mean, I think we all kind of know at this point, because ADUs are so popular, all the different things that you can actually use a tiny home for. Our goal has really been mainly to have this be an alternative option for affordable housing. I mean, because for the price, what is the average price of a home, Stephanie? Like a single family residence nowadays?
In San Diego, it's actually like 850.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, for the price of one home, you could literally have a tiny home village. So it just makes a lot of sense. And then also, um, as far as statistics wise, in the United States, out of, all of the adults in the United States, over 50% are single. So it's like the whole bigger is better, the whole idea of people buying these big homes, where it used to be they had small homes and big families. Now you see the big homes and small families. So it's really not making that much sense anymore to have the bigger homes. Statistic wise, people are only really using their bedroom, a kitchen, their bathroom, and maybe like a living space. So tiny really makes a lot of sense. And what this has done for us in the county is it really is helping us to really push the agenda to show that, tiny homes are habitable dwellings. And one of the biggest obstacles that we always run against is the stigma that is tied to homes that are on chassis. There's certain words we don't say in the tiny home space. We don't say trailers because they're chassis, and that's actually one of the dirty words for us, because that it definitely stands in the way of people getting out of their head that, these things are little trailers. And
Yeah.
I highly encourage you guys to come up, with Stephanie to check out some of the homes, and then you can I'm sure you'll concur with me if you haven't seen tiny homes yet.
And actually, RJ is going to jump in just a minute, but currently, Jenny does offer some financing for chattel loans. So I know that RJ is going to jump into that and he's going to explain that. But so we'll just bypass this one right now, but we'll get into what.
No, it's fine. I mean,
Yeah, you want to
21st,
talk about chattel loans?
yeah, I mean, 21st Century is known for their, or 21st Mortgage is
21st mortgage, yeah,
known for
sorry.
yeah, they're a leader in the chattel industry. And that's some of the time I spent learning and adopting from my 37 years of the mortgage career. I transitioned 2 years ago into the chattel industry and just focusing on helping the just, it's changed so much, like you were saying earlier, Jenny. It's like the industry has changed, regulations have changed, financing is catching up. There is hope. Um, in fact, I like to say that the easiest part is getting your loan approved. The second hardest, or the most hardest thing is, like Jenny was explaining, is lot development and infrastructure. Just because you got the tiny home loan approved, you got to decide, where are you going to put this, and where is it going, on your land or a lot that you purchased. That is definitely a major obstacle that many people need to be getting more educated on. So I'm glad that you brought that up, Jenny. It's like it's one of those things where you don't know until you know. And many times it's frustrating for borrowers that didn't realize, okay, I've got the tiny home, I've got the tiny home loan approved. Now where am I going to put it? I thought I could put it here, but I can't. So that's really good forethought.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to have a tiny home and no land.
No, no, not
Oh,
at all. And again, bringing up the ANSI regulation, people ask me all the time, why is a tiny home at 400 square feet? Well, in 2018, the IRC, which stands for the International Residential Code, along with other big governing bodies, had identified that 400 square feet, excluding a loft, was the designation of the park model, which began the whole process of what we now know as a tiny home.
perfect. And actually, we've got a question in the chat that we're going to get to, and I know that that's actually going to be the next one. So I just want everyone to take a screenshot or write down Jenny's name just to remember it. Um, she it she is the best. She knows the most of anyone that I know, and I trust her, and that's why she's on my little podcast. All right. And this is just a couple that are on her lot right now. This is the Aspen. There it is. This is the Zoe. I have a video of this one. This is the Athena, which I personally own. And then she also has a 2 bedroom. Now, this one was a modular, right? This one was,
No, this one, it's not a mod. I don't have any modulars on my lot yet.
oh, okay.
Yeah, we
Okay.
have the Zoe is actually, this is one of the pages that just shows extra 2 bedrooms, but that Zoe unit that you guys saw earlier, that's actually a 2 bedroom unit. And yes, you can do a 2 bedroom tiny home. But what I did on that one, and you'll see that when hopefully you come up, is I knocked down one of the walls and I only made it a 1 bedroom with a loft. But you can do, like Stephanie has a tiny home that has a bedroom downstairs with 2 lofts upstairs. So it's a pretty awesome, very popular unit.
And I sleep 6 and I'm booked all the time. So with that, so with this, if you want, I have a link in the chat. If you want to, hold on a second, let me make this a little bit. There we go. So I have a link in the chat. I'll go ahead and put it in there. If you do want more information on what you've heard so far, you can just make an appointment with me. It's a 20-minute appointment, and we go over everything, that pertains to you and what will work for you. So we're going to get over to RJ because I know that he's somewhere really far away and it's late. So I don't want to leave you.
I live in Rancho Bernardo and I have a second home in Valparaiso, Florida. I just happen to be in Florida this week, so it's fine. I'm okay. I'm
Okay.
adjusted to the time zone.
Okay,
But
perfect.
but I did want to comment on the fact that I got a message, a text about the 400 square foot rule. And by the way, you can get a tiny loan for a tiny house bigger than 400 square feet. The benefit of the 400 square foot rule is it bypasses a lot of housing rules and regulations. It permits that most units that exceed that fall under. But again, like was mentioned today, every zip code, every county, every housing department will have their own interpretation. And that's something I always try to get people to understand, that just because one area is allowing them, don't assume that another area is going to allow them the same way. And that's really good education that Jenny brought up about, like having a consultant to give you that foresight. So that way, you've got a great piece of land and you think it's a great place to put a tiny home. Just do the extra steps, book that consultation, because there's nothing worse than a lender saying, like myself, is like, okay, you bought the land, you have a loan against it. Okay, great. We have different types of loans that can help. Some are better than others when you're talking about California real estate. I mean, I have a tiny home loan and lot development program, but it doesn't apply to California or Oregon just because of their special rules. But there are products that will help borrowers bundle products as well as help for the purchase of a tiny home, whether it's 400 square feet or more. And I know that you briefly mentioned a modular home, which modular homes are changing a lot, and they are under a different code. They are considered real estate, and they are used in a construction bundle type of loan product, which is a government program, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac loan product. So a modular home, similar, looks like a tiny home, feels like a tiny home. It's just registered differently. Can be offered under real estate financing, like real estate, like a mortgage. Tiny home financing, which is a park model, an ANSI park model. Those units, which are ANSI, are going to fall under a chattel loan, which means it's similar to a mortgage. It's just attaching the loan to the physical unit, not the land loan. It's not going to be a real estate loan. It's going to be considered what's called a consumer loan. Now, when you compare a consumer loan, which is a chattel loan, to a real estate loan, which is a mortgage, generally speaking, a real estate mortgage loan is a 30-year fix and is about 2.25% lower than a chattel loan. Chattel loans are consumer loans, so they have a higher risk. That's why it's a higher interest rate. And they're strictly based on FICO scores. They're not something where, I mean, you could go to the expense of buying the rate down, but typically speaking, a chattel loan is a 25-year term, and it's going to be, borrower is going to qualify full documentation, and the rate will be based on the FICO score, the middle FICO score of the borrower.
Perfect. Yep, and I have that slide coming up too. But this is basically what Jenny already said, so I don't think I need to say it twice. It has to be ANSI certified,
Yep.
DMV registered. I
Yep.
just paid my DMV registration on my tiny home and it was $697. And that is a heck of a lot better than my property tax. And I'm going to tell you what my property tax is on my home. But yeah, it's refreshing. It has to be built to, most of the time, I think, especially in Julian and most of the places that we're going to be looking at, have to have the fire extinguisher inside, right? You have to have
Yeah, they
the
have to have sprinklers.
sprinklers. Yeah. Okay. And then unincorporated. This is where we want to focus, people. This is where it is all at. So Lakeside, Julian, Alpine, Hamul, Ramona, some parts of Fallbrook, Bonsall, actually all of Fallbrook, some parts of Vista. So here's a little bit of, and again, we can book that consultation and find out exactly where you want to live. So this is just some of the spots. This is
I
a
did
very long list.
Yeah, I did find out that San Bernardino County, Jenny, was not very friendly in terms of tiny home park model units. You know, the upper area, Crestline, Big Bear, all that, San Bernardino County, they really were very, very difficult to work with, where the requirements were could not be a tiny home park model because it had wheels and it has a chassis, the magic word not to say. And, San Diego County has come a long way in definitely being more tiny friendly than any county that I've worked with. I mean, I'm working with a client right now that we've gone through two different uh, bids and permit processes, and she's had to change her model to a modular home on a permanent foundation, which I told her the differences of that information just today because of her selection of this lot in San Bernardino County in the Crestline area.
Oh,
That's too
Chris.
bad because that Aspen unit that Stephanie's been showing is like a little mini me for like that area up there.
Yeah,
That's
it is.
gorgeous. It's gorgeous. And it goes to show you, people that are watching this video, like, it's good to speak to experts like Stephanie and Jenny about this, because the lender usually catches after all the enjoyment and the euphoria is done with buying the perfect unit that they want and love, and then they find out where they want to put it. And you could save yourself a lot of time and frustration, because I can do the loan to buy the unit, but when if it doesn't match the right property, you could run into a lot of hiccups. Like, unfortunately, this client who is in the LA area bought a lot up in Crestline in San Bernardino County, and she's stuck on that area, and she's had to change her unit from a park model to a modular unit.
We just got a question in the chat. Can you put a tiny home on Camp Pendleton? No, nowhere in Oceanside. You can put one in the back of a home. It can be an ADU, but Oceanside's not tiny house friendly and definitely not Camp Pendleton. They won't let you. The closest you can get would be Fallbrook. That would be as close to Camp Pendleton that you could do.
Yeah, there
Uh,
are some shared zip codes that I've been meaning to send to you, Stephanie, because there it's weird because some areas in Oceanside, but not Camp Pendleton, are in the unincorporated area. So
ooh,
we just call them shared zip codes. So again, when people do their consultation, we'd be able to help them know pretty quickly if they're in unincorporated. And you can also see that in MLS too.
yeah, yeah, but I'm pretty sure not 92053. I think you guys are. So anyway, the size and structure requirements. This is just what RJ was just talking about. So they do not see anything bigger than 430 square feet as a tiny house. So we have to go 430 and under. It can only be max 15 feet high, which that's how they get them there. It has to go under bridges. I know, I think you guys build just a hair under, and same with a lot of other tiny builders. They do them only like to 14 and a half or something. So, and then it must be sitting on 3-inch concrete pad or rock.
Now tell me about the width though, Jenny. Don't you have to meet an 8.5 foot width just to meet the road compliance?
Yeah, so actually in California, we are allowed to go up to 14 wide, but that actually includes the eaves too. So
Mhm.
the factories I've seen them build up to just under, well, about 13 and a half is the max that you're going to see for on the width. But once they go over 12 feet, then there's extra requirements for the permit. You'll see, like you'll see go down the road and you'll see those wide loads. Well, it has to have an extra, shoot, I just went blank on
Car.
what they're called.
Yeah, chaser
Yeah.
car.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry. Yeah.
I know I paid for it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you for sure needed one.
Yeah, mine's a big guy. And then someone just asked, can you do bump outs for the tiny house on wheels?
No. You cannot. That's a big, big no-no what they're
Okay.
saying.
And
Yeah.
then are you able to build a deck on top if it's on your own land?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's on your own land.
Yeah, I mean, like the interesting thing right now about about this whole ANSI code is it's actually got some gray areas. And so, once it's certified, I'm not telling you to do anything that you're not supposed to be doing, and it's on your property. That's where people build their decks and their extra decks and stuff. That's about as
But
all.
you have one that comes with a deck too. We'll get to that in a second.
Oh, yes.
Oh yeah, that's the one Rowena wants.
Yeah,
Uh,
for all your viewers,
yeah,
and they can submit it to you, of course, if they want. I have a brochure. It's about starting your tiny home journey. A lot of the stuff that we're talking about, it's a nice trifold, and it gives everyone just the information necessary just to start understanding their loan, getting ready for the loan process and understanding it. So if they want this, I can mail them out to anyone. There's
yeah. Well, I'll get that from you and then give that
Yep,
to them at the consultation. That would
yep.
be awesome. So again, it has to be connected to water, must be connected to sewer and or septic, and it has to be connected to electric or solar. And then that was the fire sprinklers that we were talking about if you are in most unincorporated San Diego. So it does have to be up to safety and utility standards. Placement and zoning. Uh, in unincorporated, it can be in the side or rear yard. If you're in metro, then it can only be behind the primary unit. So again, depending on where you want to put it, it's available to go all over San Diego, but we need to know where you want to land, and then we'll tell you what you can do with it. So there's the no RVs. This is exactly what we just talked about. So you can't do the bump outs. There's no free parking. You can't just simply park it anywhere you want. And then again, we keep harping on this, but we're super excited for the primary dwelling to finally be allowed. This is the compliance checklist that I'll go through with you at our consultation. I just want to be your one-stop shop. I want to help you hold your hand from the time you start dreaming, get you through with RJ, get the loan, get you through getting all of the customization with your tiny home, and then we put it on your land or lease. So I help with first-time home buyers, investors, and ADU seekers, the people that already have the land that just want to add some, just a rental unit, and then downsizers. These are the people that have the land, get the tiny, split the lot, and sell the front. It's great. So I will help you with your complete home journey. So everything from the land acquisition, coordinating the closing, helping you buy your tiny home, either through Jenny or Tiny Zen. I have both under me, and then I'll help you with the permitting. So this is just an example of what my plot plan looks like up in Yosemite or Groveland. It's the same thing. And then this is what RJ was talking about, the path to your tiny home. So I will help you through the consultation, site model match, permit, and delivery. And that is actually my tiny home in Ramona. There it is. So let's get RJ going. So this is just my proven experience about what I've done so far with the tiny home in Ramona. I use the medical trailer thing because it's been 2 years there now. Pretty exciting. So again, just reminding myself to book a session with me. And there's all these bills that we can do too. SB9, I just said that we can lot split. Maybe you can do 2 tiny houses on each lot. I mean, we can bill stack until the cows come home. So we just have to do a simple requirement, just an application. There's all sorts of bills that we can do. This is for church land, if you happen to find church land. This is for affordable commercial land. They're also allowing that too. And after you're all done, if you want to separate that and sell it, you can also do that as well now. So California is really awesome, you guys. They really understand that we need affordable housing. So I commend that. And now, RJ. So now you're
So
going to talk all about, and look at IRC modular homes. I know you're going to talk about that, right?
yes, I can talk about that. If the website that I designed was really based out of my own frustration 2.5 years ago when I bought my tiny home. And that's when I decided to dive right in and start really coming from a place as an advocate and an educator. So if you go onto my website, ustinyloans.com, the very first tab is the whole journey about tiny homes and how they evolved. And I pride myself as coming from that standpoint, just like our speakers today. It was just like being an advocate is really important, saving you time and money, and having that relationship instead of a transactional relationship is where I feel the most value comes from this. Because even if I'm not able to do a loan for the client and they're just going to pay for cash, I feel the reward of helping them get to that conclusion, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
But,
Yeah, very much
I've
appreciate
since
that.
I've since expanded the website on the ustinyloans.com. On the tiny home tab, I've now listed a nationwide map of different tiny home communities that you can locate and contact if you choose to. I'm now running into these baby boomers that are using proceeds from the sale of their house that they don't use anymore, and they're now buying multiple locations to make it the modern day. I want to call it the modern day travel of the baby boomer. Instead of hauling around an RV, they basically just drive to different tiny home destinies that they've bought tiny homes at. So I just finished a fourth transaction with the same couple that decided to go literally West Coast to East Coast, and they have 4 different units in different parts of the United States. So that inspired me to build the map of the nationwide tiny home villages.
Oh, that's awesome. So, yep, we can put mine on there pretty soon.
Absolutely. And Jenny's as well.
Yeah, almost coming soon. So, talk to me why the IRC modular, why is that special? Is that the one that you
So
can link with land?
Yeah, so what makes the I call it the bundle loan because you run into a certain buyer that says, I want to buy this, but I need to put land on it, so I need to buy the lot. And according to the Fannie Mae Freddie Mac, which is the government guidelines, you can use a one-time close construction loan as long as that property, that unit meets what's called an IRC modular classification. This is just an extra step that the manufacturer provides during the process. So like a stick build new construction, you have people that come out and do inspections during the process of construction. The same thing is provided with a modular loan that has an inspector come out to issue the permits during the process of the modular unit. A prefabricated home with an IRC modular status is given the same quality build as a stick build. And so when you have a modular home, which is delivered on wheels, they remove the wheels and they do what's called strapping to a permanent foundation. This property, this unit, this modular home qualifies for a new construction loan. And that means the homeowner can qualify to buy a lot, basically three contracts. The modular home purchase, the lot purchase is the second contract, and the third one is paying the contractor to develop the infrastructure for that lot. So all three of these contracts are bundled into one loan. So I'm just going to make the numbers really easy. Let's say the modular unit's 100 grand, the lot purchase is 100 grand, and the construction to develop the lot for the infrastructure is 100 grand. That borrower is going to qualify for a $300,000 loan, and we get them pre-qualified. And then we do what's called fund management. So we manage all three contracts, which of course, first contract that gets paid out will be for that lot purchase. So we now have the ownership of that lot. And then the other two contracts of the modular builder as well as the contractor are going to get paid out during the portion of the build out of their contract. So I'm going to use real simple math is 60% of their contracts of their prices will be paid out at the midpoint of the build out. What makes this different is the borrower who got approved for the $300,000 loan is only paying an interest only payment during the proceeds of this construction. So typically speaking, contracts of construction loans regular for stick builds are like 12, 13 months long. What makes this loan unique with a modular home, because the modular home is a prefabricated home and it can be built much faster, is you're using half the time of a loan that typically takes 12 months for stick builds or longer, but now you're only having a loan for like basically 6 months. So during the construction, the borrower is only paying interest only, and we assign an average 30-year fixed rate for the loan assignment. And during the assignment, I'm going to use a number. That 30-year fix is going to be about 1/4% higher than the going rate. So I'm going to use a 6.5% is a going purchase rate mortgage. The construction loan will be 1/4% higher at 6.75 during the course of the whole contract, which the new construction loan is a full year contract. So the borrower is only going to be paying 6.75 interest only on the portion of that $300,000 loan that's being used. So while they're going through construction, they're only going to be paying the interest only of the portion that's being used of the 300,000. So let's assume the contract gets done and the 60% has been paid out, another 30% has been paid out. We're heading towards a 7th or 8th month of this final build. A final walkthrough is being done, and we're at the 8th month. At that time, in the 8th month, the lender will look at the current 30-year fixed rate loan. And again, they were paying 6.75. If the rate has gotten better than 6.5, we will convert it to a 30-year fixed rate at 6.5%. If the rates had gone higher than 6.75, the borrower won't pay a higher rate. We'll lock them in at that 6.75 for the remainder 30 years of that loan. So what makes this loan very unique is for veterans, it's 100% financing, which means they come in with no down payment. If they're a standard first-time buyer, they can get in if they qualify for as low as a 5% down payment. So if you can imagine that $300,000 loan, if they qualify, they can get in as little as a 5% down payment for the total build out of that loan.
That is amazing. That really does make it affordable too.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And it makes a big difference because the modular home, the price per square footage, they get to own something that's more affordable. And if you think about a $300,000 loan, they own the property, they own the lot, they own the unit, and they basically got their own customized home at a fraction of the cost of home ownership.
Yep. Yep. And they get to customize because you get to pick the land and you get to pick the tiny and then put it together. Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally custom. Find your little spot in the world.
Yes.
Yep, there it is. So the in-home sales appointment. So we will do the site evaluation. We're going to do a couple on Saturday. I have a couple people. I'm not sure if they're on because I can't see everyone, but there's a couple of people that are downsizing. Kids are going off to college. They just don't want to, have that huge house and especially the huge mortgage anymore. So she's going to sell the big house, buy a tiny and some land in Julian that has utilities. And she might be talking to you, RJ, pretty soon. So, and then this is just going into the other tiny house manufacturer that I work for. So this is Zen Tiny. And
I know Ben very well.
yes, you do, because
Ben Wilson.
actually Ben told me about you.
Good
So,
company.
yep.
Yep.
So what they do is totally different than Jenny. Hers is the park model. So the larger units, they're like, 11 and a half feet wide, much bigger. So these are the true tiny at the 8.5 feet wide. The largest they can do is 10, but they are cute as a button. So this is the one that I was sitting in yesterday, actually. And it's right here on the lot in Vista. So if anybody wants to go and see this one, just call, make an appointment, and we'll go up there and go see Ben. Go shake him up. Oh, wait, hold on a second. That might be cut off. There we go. So it does true custom tinies. So you basically design it with them. So it's a small down payment. Go through loan financing with RJ. And yeah, let's rock and roll. So this is just a few little photos. This is one they did in Encinitas in the backyard in Encinitas. Doesn't it look like it's connected to the ground? But nope, it's on wheels. They just built a deck around it. Oh, I'm not sure why that's there, but that's what we're looking for. We need to find land that has the utilities on it already. That was misplaced. Here's another one of Zen Tinies. This is another one, the Mammoth. This is their biggest. And the Alpine. This is the one that is the hands down, the one that he sells all day long. And hold on a second. There we go. Alpine. This is just some more photos on the inside. And there we go. And customize it your way. And you can move it. I don't recommend it. I recommend just setting it one time, but you can if you want to. And he also does container homes too. So again, those are also on the property as well in Vista. And this just kind of gives you some floor plans and some ideas. So just like a tiny home, but no wheels on this one. And where functionality meets versatility. So you've got everything all in one, and it's cute as a button. So if you're ready to start to talk about this a little bit more, but more concerning just about you and what you need and where you want to go ahead and click the link in the chat and make an appointment with me. And does that look like fun, Jenny? There you are. So I brought up a bunch of people last 2 weekends ago. And we're calling ourselves the Tiny House Tribe. So anybody that wants to be in the Tiny House Tribe, come on up with us this Saturday. Isn't that just the most beautiful thing you've ever seen? A little cute little house on wheels up in Julian, connected to utilities that are already there. So many pieces of land up there. So here's some of my featured listings. So unfortunately, I can't show you the addresses because I need you to sign a buyer broker agreement, which is actually it's a law now. I can't even get around it. So if you guys want to come up with us on Saturday to see land, then I have to have you fill out this single property buyer broker agreement. It's just for the day. It ends at midnight, but it does promise that you will use me to buy the land. And what's great is the seller pays my commission, so I'm absolutely free to you. And what we were looking for, this is where I needed that other photo, is the burnout connector. So this is what I look for. This is, let's see here. This is the one. Oh, no, actually it was totally out of. So this one is also burnt out too. This one's off market. So I have some off market properties. I've got burned out properties that just need to be demolished. It has all of the utilities on it. This one is a raw piece of land, but has the utilities on it. This one is in the middle of town, also has the utilities on it. And this one also has utilities on it. It will need to have septic dug though. Tiny house block. So this is right up in like almost the Alpine Descanso area. Have you ever been to Tiny House Block, Jenny? Yeah. Yeah. I need to get up there. So it looks as cute as a button, but that's a spot that possibly you could lease and put your tiny house there. I am looking for people that want to sell or lease their land. So if you happen to be one of those people that I invited, go ahead and scan the QR code now, put a couple pieces of information in there, and I'm going to contact you. I'm basically going to be the magnet, the connector of the people that are seeking the land and the people that have the land. I'm going to be like the Uber of the land for tiny homes. And then this is the seekers page. So people that want to buy tiny homes and look for land, whether it be leasing or buying, or maybe sharing. Some of my ladies that I brought up in the tiny tribe, they are actually talking about buying land together. So you never know. And ladies, come on. Now we've got to outpass the men. We've only been able to buy homes since 1974. And look at this. Good God. Single female home buyers. You guys are doing a great job, but we need more. And go ahead and click the link and visit me. Thank you. Any questions? I'm going to open up the floor.
Yeah, I think I don't want to make sure, I want to make sure I didn't confuse anybody. So I offer both type of loans. The chattel loan is for the park model ANSI certified units that you're just buying the unit. That's a 5% down payment. The example we talked about, which is a modular home, it's an IRC modular home. That's a real estate loan. It's also a 5% down loan if you qualify. I do both of those products, both chattel loans for park models, as well as regular mortgage loans for the IRC modular units. Wanted to make sure I clarified that.
Perfect. Does anybody see here? Oh, so people that own land in Julian, yes, we want you. Okay, so another question, is 100,000 a realistic amount for construction of the foundation? Actually, it'd be way less than that.
Way less. Yeah, that's a really
Yeah.
high number. I
Yeah, I
mean,
think 100,000 would be like maybe for your septic, electric, water, and your foundation. Like that, it would be probably not even 100,000. But let me,
yeah, every land is different. I mean, unless you're trying to put something on the side of a hill and you need a huge retaining wall, that 100,000 is way over. I would say, and every piece of land is different, that generically speaking, you probably, if you don't have, well, I don't even really like to throw numbers out there because if there's no septic involved, that's a whole nother story involved. But I would say that for the most part, for people that are trying to put a unit behind a backyard, where there's already a home, you're probably looking at like maybe 20, 30,000 for that.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's your answer. And yes, with permits. Yes, absolutely. We're not going to do anything that, uh, yeah, no. We're not doing that. We're permitting everything. We want to make sure that you're able to resell it in 5, 10 years, and it's definitely going to be permitted. I have another question. Can you do a 4-bedroom one with 3 lofts? I think you can do a like mine has 2 lofts and 1 bedroom. Can you do one that has 2 beds on the bottom and 2 lofts on top?
We have so far we have 2 bedrooms on the bottom, one loft up top. I haven't seen two lofts up top yet.
Yeah, not yet, but
Yeah.
maybe
I
possible.
mean, because we only have 400 square feet to work with. So the lofts do not count in that square footage unless you can stand up in the lofts. There are tiny homes if they have like a small footprint on the bottom and you can stand up in the loft, but that would then be counted in the square footage. I actually have one of those. Sitting in one right now.
Yep. I know where you're sitting.
Mhm.
Okay, perfect. All right. Anybody else, you can raise your hand and I can just unmute you individually if there's any more questions.
I see D'Angelo is asking if there's a place to look at models. And Stephanie's going to be bringing folks up this weekend and to our place, which we have 9 show models here.
Yes, and I actually made a flyer. Where is my flyer? I'll put it I'll send it out to everyone that is on the call right now. I've made a cute little flyer and it's a little lost at the moment. And I don't want to move too many things around because then I'll lose y'all. So I will send out that flyer for the caravan for this Saturday. We're going to meet at Jenny's up there at Moveable Tiny House. It's right across the street from Dudley's Bakery. We're gonna have lunch at Dudley's and then we're gonna drive up to Julian and
Jenny, I drive by your place all the time because I go every Sunday or every Saturday. I go to Dudley's for my sourdough.
Oh,
oh
they have great sourdough. Yeah,
Yeah.
and just FYI, folks, we only do this by appointment only. So so make sure you don't come all the way up here and because you might be upset that we're not open. So
yeah, always make an appointment. Just talk to us. Just call. We'll make sure that someone is there for you. But yeah, there's a bunch of us going up this Saturday, so I'd love to have you. Okay, let me check one more time. I don't see any hands. And oh, hold on, I've got a new. Yes, I will evaluate I'm going to get a hold of you, and we will do an evaluation of your land. Yep, I will call you on that one. Okay, good. Richard, put your link in, and then Jenny, if you want to put your link in. Otherwise, you could just get a hold of me through when we make our little appointment. So I guess that will be it then, guys. Go ahead and grab the links out of there and look super forward to talking to all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
thank you, Stephanie. Nice to meet you, Richard.
Nice
Take
to meet
care.
you, Jenny.
Yeah,
Bye-bye.
Thank you,
you guys
Stephanie.
will get together later.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye,
Bye.
guys. Thank you.